Welcome to another edition of Smart Chat here on YouTube.com. I hope everything's going well for you guys, and just want to do a wrestling video. I'm a big fan of old school wrestling, as I'm sure you know what a big fan I am. And Ivan Koloff passed away at the age of 74. Just my thoughts on Ivan Koloff. I remember, watching some videos prior, a couple of years ago. They're on YouTube, look them up. And, some things I knew and some things I didn't know. But it was a great video. Thinking back a few years ago, I forget the exact name, but there's a lot of good stuff on Ivan Koloff out there. Ivan Koloff, obviously he wasn't Russian. He portrayed a Russian. And back then, even now, the Russians get a ton of heat. So that's what he portrayed. It's actually Canadian. He had a Canadian with red hair who shaved his head. That way he could portray a Russian in the early 60s. And the guy kind of had a good physique. Paved the way for that look, the look that the bald head look that Steve Austin really made popular, made it look cool. But this guy was a pioneer of it. Kind of like when Austin shaved his head, and that you've seen a lot of guys started shaving their hair, and it looked cool. You didn't have to feel embarrassed. But Ivan Koloff really started that as well years prior. And he shaved his head. He had red hair. Played a Russian. He was saying in one of the videos that I've seen online years back that him and Nikita Koloff, when they teamed up in the NWA days, Nikita Koloff was a smart guy. He studied, was able to form an accent. Ivan Koloff, the Russian bear, he couldn't do an accent, so what he thought he would be able to pull off is copying Vachon, which he did. That's how he got his accent. But, he was saying in the videos, and I'm sure you heard this numerous times before, that back in those days, in the territory days, you really had to make sure that you were playing your character on and off the screen. Off the screen, off the TV, or in public when you're not in a ring. And if you're found being nice to a fan, for example, and you're a heel, that could be grounds for being let go from the company, losing your job. So they really were protecting the business back then. And he played the heel well. He broke Bruno Sammartino's 7-year streak. Held it for 21 days. It was more like a transitional champion. Lost it to Pedro Morales. Never became the WWF champion after that. He was saying that there was supposed to be no filming of cameras, no video recording when Koloff won the heavyweight championship in the WWF days, because he would be beating Bruno, and they didn't want anyone in the public to see the embarrassment that Bruno lost. But someone did manage to bring in a camera, and you're able to see it now. But Koloff never regained the championship in the Fed here. He lost it to Pedro Morales, obviously. Back in those days, and even to a degree now, you're not going to have two faces in Morales and Sammartino fighting each other. Can't do that. So that's why he was a transitional champ. He was also in the WWF about 83, right around the time where Backlund lost to the Iron Sheik, and Koloff thought that if he knew that Vince Jr. was coming into the picture, he thought that maybe if he had stuck around, that he would become the champion, and instead that went to Sheik. But he thought that he would be probably considered at that. But when you look at his WWF career, really wasn't. He was kind of forgotten about. You know, you had he never really was like in the main feud. I mean, you had Jesse the Body Ventura there. You had Bob Backlund, Pedro Morales, and he seemed to always get overlooked. But in the NWA, man, this guy was a badass. Was a legit badass. And he played that character well. That mean, badass Russian. Forget the Ivan Koloff over here in the WWF. This was a badass Russian. Badass character that he portrayed. And he was the guy that got the heat in its partnership with Nikita Koloff. He was the heater. Set up great feuds, with the Horsemen in the NWA. I remember he used to always come out with that chain, and that chain was so intimidating. He used to swing it around. Very intimidating. Played his character well. Definitely a old-time wrestler in every sense of the way. In that video that I keep on referring to, saying that he doesn't watch today's product because it just frustrated him. There's no psychology in wrestling, which is true. I mean, look, a couple of weeks back in that SmackDown pay-per-view, you had Mickie James working on a body part on Becky Lynch. And Becky Lynch no sells it at all. No sells the arm, nothing. There is no psychology, and Koloff was right. But Koloff's, even though he didn't watch the product today, seemed that he really loved wrestling. Really loved wrestling. He would, born again Christian, was going out and still doing signings, going out to independent shows, talking to fans and talking to kids in schools about his born again Christian, how he changed his way of life, and yeah, he seemed to be a very down to earth guy, but definitely a legend in wrestling. Hope all is well. Look forward to speaking to you soon.